Typical record deal is structured something like this. The record label gives in advance, say $250,000 to the artist to record an album. The artist then records the album. Suppose that the album sells 500,000 copies at $10 each, yielding $5 million. The record label then takes their cut out of the $5 million, typically 85% of the total sales, leaving the artist with $750,000. But before the artist receives any payments, the label first deducts the advance. In addition, the record label recoups other costs such as recording costs, half the promotion costs, half the video costs, and tour support. This leaves the artist $425,000 in debt to the record label. And then this debt gets carried on to the next album, and the next album.
Coming in now, what would you sort of advice would you give upcoming artists?
You know what I would say? Know the business. If you do not know the business, know the business. Know the business. Know the business. It's good to want to be in it, but know the business, please. And just know that everything, don't believe the hype about everything, really know the business, do your homework, get on Google, find out about some things. And I would tell them, and then I want to tell them, please never, ever, 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 ever give away your publishing. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't give away your publishing.
They say the word in music business, the word business is bigger than the word music. So it don't make a difference how good you can sing or how good you can produce or whatever. You'll be just like one of my favorite movies, Cadillac Records. They say you'll be making him rich and you famous. and what my man say from Two Live Crew, Brother Marquise, I just saw him in an interview recently on Doggy Diamond Show. He say, fame without fortune is torture.
Yeah.
And that is true. You don't want to be tortured. Learn that business, man. Man, woman, boy, girl, whoever you may be, learn that business side, because that's take you way further than knowing how to do some slick runs and do some slick harmony.
Yeah.
Because the computer nowadays could do your harmony for you, but ain't nobody gonna do that them books and stuff for you. Make sure you get paid.
How much of the business side of the industry did you not really grapple with when you first started? That after a while you realize, wow, it's not as fun as I actually thought it would be.
Well, you know what, to be honest with you, man, I didn't, in the beginning, I didn't care. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm a musician, man. I care about the music. I'm not thinking about the business part of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what we hire people to do. You know, I'm a creative person. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't care.
Did you sign a deal that was for the time? Was it a fair deal, or was it really bad, or what was your reflection?
It was a standard R&B deal during that time. I think every R&B artist that I speak to that came through that era, like the 90s, like 92, 93, 94, it was pretty much the same contract. The only difference would be the advance up front, like how much money they would advance you up front, which is nothing more than a loan, because you have to pay that back before you start seeing your royalty money. So with certain artists, they would get like maybe $50,000, and then you have another artist that may only get $5,000.
Yeah. And
that was just up to the label and how much they believed in the project and how much they were going to put behind it. So.
And when I got my, I was 19 when I got my, maybe 19 or 20, something like that. When I got my publishing deal, I didn't have no money. You know what I'm saying? And then somebody gives me $80,000. I'm like, oh shit, what the hell, man? I know I wasn't rich, but I go from 0 to 80 grand. I'm able to do some stuff for my family. Not much, but I'm able to do something. So I didn't think about those things. Those things didn't come later on. Until later on, after the way I want to be. Now I'm starting to think about, okay, because I at the end of the day, man, I got some great checks. I don't know about the other artists, you know what I'm saying, but I they took care of me.
Yeah. But then at that time, then when you guys were signing with Keith, did you, because you were working at LaFace, so you knew the background stuff, and your boyfriend at the time had the publishing stuff. Did you then know about the paperwork, to make sure that, you guys aren't just going to be singing and nothing comes back to you guys? Did you know?
Well, I did know about the paperwork.
Did or didn't?
But I did.
You did, okay.
But
Here's the but.
you're not gonna get everything you want.
Okay.
I mean, come on. You think you're gonna come up in here green as a doggone green bean, that you gonna come and get everything you want? Nah, bruh, it don't work like that.
Okay.
So everybody has to pay their dues in some kind of way. You know, it's going out there trying to be in a boxing fight and never get hit. You know, so, you know, we thought that we could avoid certain things because we knew more. But nah, bruh, one hook is gonna catch you sooner or later. You know what I'm saying? It's a straight doggone Tomb Raider. You know what I mean? You get caught in something. Something gonna cut your neck off, your leg, knee, something is going. You gonna miss some kind of limb coming back limping. You know what I mean?
Wow. So the production deal that you guys have, because was that on the Bad Boy? Did they have a production company signed to Bad Boy?
It was Arista, boy.
Yeah.
It was Arista, Bad Boy, Calimia. That was the production deal on Twitter.
Okay.
So we were signed to Calimia, who then signed themselves to Bad Boy, who was signed to Arista.
Yeah.
So
It's an administrative deal. Yes.
yeah. So you can understand the trickle down effect. So by the time Arista gave us $1 million, by the time it got to us, it was $12,000 a piece. You know what I'm saying? But we were still on the hook for that $1 million though.
Yeah.
So,
So that
Right.
Kalinia, was that Puffy stuff or was that somebody else?
No, that was the manager / production company. So that was the conflict of interest right there in and of itself. He was the manager and the production company at the same time.
And it's also that we had our producers, Denzel Foster, Thomas McElroy, had a manager named David Lombard. And they said to us, you guys should have him as your manager as well. And they were like, it's a conflict of interest, but you know, he's a good guy and he'll take care of you. And I was thinking, okay, well, if you guys say he's good, then he's good. And we all trusted that. But it was really a bad situation because when it comes time to renegotiate, if you're lucky enough to sell your first album, goes multi-platinum or platinum, and you tear up that old contract, you have to renegotiate for better terms than what you initially started with.
Yeah.
And David was not willing to represent either side. He couldn't represent Danny and Tommy or us. So there was no one there in our corner.
Then when Eddie F presents you with a contract, are you obliged to get legal advice? And not just because of Eddie F, but any type of contract, or you just sign right there?
Oh no, you have to give it to an attorney. Their attorney sends it. Their attorney sent it to our attorney. And how do we find our attorney?
Yeah.
Through them, because we didn't know anything. So we pretty much let them pick the attorney. So he's sending it to his friend, and they just work out whatever it takes to make the deal happen, you know. So
I interviewed Tabitha Duncan from Kut Klose, and she said that you get you get an attorney, and they all know each other. They all
know each other.
They all know each other. I interviewed Dawn Robinson from Vogue, and she said, I know an attorney that you might get might say, well, if I try and side with my client against the record label, I've got other clients there that they may say, well, we're not going to work with you again. So they're not, as much as they'll try and do fair advice, they're not going to be always in your corner.
Yeah, because the groups come and go. You know, the label is there. They need that business from the label. So
yeah. So
we tried to avoid as much as we could and get our own little, lawyer and stuff. It was like, well, we got our own lawyer, so they ain't gonna be able to get over. Man, this business, everybody know everybody in here now.
Yeah.
We're the only ones that didn't know that. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, come on, man. You think people don't know who you know, dude? These days, you better watch your mouth anyway, because you just never know who know who.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we thought that we had the right lawyer, but nah, bro, we got into a hell of a situation because we signed a 7-album deal. So a 7-album deal, that's a lot. No one releases an album a year. So basically that's almost 14, 15 years. That's if you release one album every 2 years.
Yeah.
And most people sit on the shelf for a couple, years before you even start working on the album. When you're talking about being on the roster like Elektra, I mean, you know what I mean? We had a lot of people out there, but still, everybody had to wait. And I'm like, to sign that many years of your life away to anybody, if it ain't gonna be your husband, is foolish.
I mean, we actually had a lawyer who was supposed to be, like in everybody's best interest, but like the lawyer we had, he was in the back of the Right On magazine. He was a former actor from one of the soap operas or something like that. And he just had like his acting headshot or whatever in there. And it's just like such and such, attorney at law. And he basically told us when we walked in, he said, "Hey, this is pretty much a standard contract, guys. Go ahead, sign it or whatever." And then later on, when we got real representation, which was the guy, Mr. Londell McMillan, who is he was like 50-50 partners with Prince, and he actually represented the Jackson family in the wrongful death proceedings and stuff like that too. By the time we got to him, he was the one that broke it to us that we basically got screwed, you know. Because like at that time, like coming from the job that we all had, making like minimum wage or whatever, it's like anything with a couple zeros behind it seemed like something like $1,000 seemed like a lot of money when you used to make it maybe like $250 every 2 weeks or something like that. You see what I'm saying? And then also when you meet other groups and you see that y'all selling pretty much the same, like y'all record sales and show turnouts and stuff is pretty similar, but then you see them getting cars. And you still like borrowing your folks' car to go out for the weekend and stuff like that. Wow. You're like, oh, something may add up, something may, right? You know?
But for you guys at the time, it was like, wow, we're just excited. We got an opportunity, sign here. Were you able to get lawyers and parents to look through and like what's going on? Or
well, you know, with a contract that big, it's like 24 pages. My parents wouldn't have known exactly what was going on. They looked at it. But they weren't in the music business. None of our family members could ever tell us exactly what we were getting into. They had no clue. It was nothing they'd ever seen before. We had never seen it before, so let alone our family members helping us through that. But we did go to Los Angeles. We got an attorney of our own. We hired Don Wilson, who was a Black attorney. A lot of times what happens with the attorneys that have a name in the industry, they're already tied and connected to the major labels. They're bought and sold by the majors. In other words, the attorneys know that they can't make an alliance with the artist that they're representing because they're going to bring another artist through those doors. So, in other words, they can't go against Clive Davis because for the artist that they're representing, because they know that they're going to bring another artist to Clive Davis, and they have to make alliance with Clive. So they represent Clive or Jimmy Iovine or Sylvia Rohn in our case. And he wasn't really looking out for En Vogue as much. He told us some things were wrong with the contract, but his loyalty was more with the industry. So we really didn't have somebody that had our backs from the very beginning. And had we had someone that was not an attorney, an entertainment attorney that was not connected to the industry, we would have fared a lot better.
It's amazing that if you were an NBA player or football player, you've got a talent and your agent gets you a deal with the club and you get a big salary, big advance, and they take care of everything. If you're a recording artist, everyone comes to see how can we sap your energy, and knowing that, well, if we do all that, you may not be great at what you're doing. How soon did you realize that it isn't, there's two sides to this? There's the singing part.
Well, let's go back, because you hit a couple of things, okay? And the one thing I say, the same thing that you say, is when you're when you're a sports person or whatever. Now, to me, it's different when you are given a whole bunch of money, and if you choose to go and buy 80 houses and cars, and that's on you, right? That's on you. It's sad because there are a lot of athletes who may not have money after getting those major big deals, but 90% of Black artists, because I can only speak for myself, you're not given nowhere near that kind of money, nowhere near that kind of a public. You're already in the negative starting. They don't even give you a head start. Like, that's the only thing about I'm going to go from the Black music world that I take an issue with, because it's not even like after you're 3, 4, 5 albums in and you just want to, take a break or whatever you want to do, right?
Being said, and I can say this on, your platform as well, just so everybody knows, our intent was not to leave Bad Boy. We were not, our initial intent was not to leave. Our intent was to be, to get out from under the production deal that we were signed to through Bad Boy, which was taking, what, 80% of what, 40% I'm sorry, 40% of everything that we made. So from advances to touring to shows to anything that we made, endorsements, advertisement, anything that we made, the production company that we were signed to took 40% of that. So we were tired of, giving our money away basically for free, because we were the one that was writing, we was the one that were producing, we was the one that was, that was doing all the years of choreography and stuff. Now in the beginning, yeah, it may have made sense for you to have a production company or an A&R or somebody there in artist development to help us, mold us. But once we are established and we are 112, it became obsolete at that point, and we felt like a change was necessary. So we wanted to leave that situation, not necessarily leave Bad Boy, but leave that situation. Puffy was reluctant to leave that situation alone with regards to 112. So that's the reason why we left, and when we found a better situation over at Def Jam.
But did you have a choice at that point?
Of course, we always have choices, but we just ate it because we thought we could do better the next time around. Well, if we do better, we can change the contract next time around.
So I mean, if the album went like 10 million or so, you could then go back and negotiate. Is that what you were saying?
You probably could, but when you doggone in this business, man, them jokers screw you so hard. I mean, come on, you didn't hear the story about TLC?
Yeah,
they're like one of the biggest selling groups of all time, female wise. They are, and they got jacked. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So what makes you think that? What is this, Queen Victoria over here, or Elizabeth or somebody? No. Nah, bro. We like, you know what I'm saying? I wish I could say I was like that dude who won, you know what I'm saying, like this, but nah, bro. We was like this. We was on the lower registers, you know what I'm saying? So no, we got juked bad in many ways, you know what I mean? But I really don't have no regrets, because you live and you learn.
Yeah. So the question I had then is that you've done the first, it blows up, that it's very clear how the publishing and everything works, and every 90s artist would tell you that, man, we got, and Dawn Robinson, when I interviewed her, 2 cents per girl per record, so they're selling 10, 20 million, but they're only getting 2 cents, so it wasn't, you didn't sign them to RCA, you weren't there, but you didn't sign a production deal with them. So how is it that they could paint you as the villain when you were just doing your parts?
Because they were young, and I was too, and nobody really sits you down at that stage and tells you the mechanics of it all. You kind of figure it out as you go, and then you realize, oh man, because like even me, as much money as I was making, it still wasn't a good publishing deal. I did a horrible co-publishing deal that I never should have done. I should have never done a publishing deal at all. I should have just kept all my publishing and not ever done one, but I didn't know that. Because what publishing deals do is just take your own money and give it back to you.
Yeah, and I want to go back, because the fact that you guys were signed to AppScat and you had your own publishing stuff start early on, it meant that the success for the 411 album meant success for you guys. Was that the case?
Yeah, well, what we did was we were going to do different publishing deals. So Kenny took the credit on the Mary J. Blige songs. He got the publishing deal, and we split the money on that. And then I was going to do a publishing deal, and then we would split the money on that. But the problem with that was the first publishing deal that went down, it didn't go down like we really wanted it to. Like, we kind of got tricked, and I don't have no problem giving numbers. For instance, they call us in. It's like, okay, we're gonna sign. We're gonna do this publishing deal. We're gonna give you guys up front $70,000. But we need to do the deal today. Boom, did the deal for $70,000 advance, right? About 2 weeks later, the quarter breaks and the numbers come in from the album. So had we not did it for $70,000, we could have did it for like $200,000, but we didn't know the business, and nobody told us that. So that kind of shunned us away from doing more publishing deals. So that's how I end up just owning my own publishing, and end up Like, I'm gonna learn this thing. And right now I own the same amount of publishing on Come Inside that the record company does, because I wouldn't relinquish it. I wouldn't give it up. So
okay. You signed with BMI first. Was that
well, you don't really sign with BMI. All they do is agree to collect your royalties around the world. So
that would have been better. So it would have been better if they kept them or Aspect or something like that.
Absolutely, yeah, because then I would have got 100% of all my shit, as opposed to when you sign a publishing deal, you're giving up sometimes 20, sometimes 30, 40, 50% of your of your rights.
And all they do is say, okay, let's give you some money in advance.
Yeah, a little advance money, right? And it's bullshit, because I think I got like 300,000 on that first one, and I'm sure I made that back in a couple of months, based on what those records were doing. So like, it's just a joke, because then all of a sudden the money they start making off of you has well surpassed what they gave you, and they gave it back to you from your own thing, from your own pipeline. It's not like they gave you anything. They gave you 300,000 of what you was about to already have anyway.
Maybe because, again, there's a difference. The difference is that if you're an artist and you're out here singing other people's songs, you're going to have a hard time. Yeah. That wasn't me. I was out here singing my own songs. I had ownership of my publishing. You know what I'm saying? Like I did a publishing deal, but they only had owned 25% of my publishing. Wow. You know what I'm saying? So while I wasn't getting money from LaFace, I was still getting money from ASCAP. I was getting money from my publishers. So I wasn't in a bad position. You know what I'm saying? I can't really say I ever made a dime from LaFace, because we were always unrecouped. But I had money coming from other places. I had show money. So it wasn't like I was twiddling my thumbs like, oh shit, what's going to happen next for me? Yeah. I just kept working, man. And I love the fact that my life went that way instead of me not being a songwriter, because I hear the horror stories of so many people, man, not having money and being broken, and it can happen, man, especially when you're chasing that look, because artists have to look a certain kind of way. You got to drive a certain kind of car. You can't, there's this thing you got to keep up.
Yeah. Well, right. So not only do they suck the blood out of you, like you mentioned, which takes away the energy from what you're really, you have to go out there and perform every night. Where NBA players, they get the cool baths, they get the massages, whatever it is for them to perform at their best. Yeah. They have it, correct? Yeah. But as an artist, you don't have that protection. You know what I'm saying? There's nobody really there to protect you. You have to protect yourself. Because even monetarily, the only way you're really gonna make money is to keep doing shows and to keep writing and, and to keep publishing this and to keep your record label interested. Now that's a whole nother thing, because if that last album wasn't number one like the album before, their interest is going down. You see what I'm saying? So, and what's going down with the interest is the budget, right? That maybe you got a big budget for the last album, but we got to go by what you did last time. Yeah. What about that? We got to go by how many records you sold the last time. This is what artists face, and that's why I go back to what I said before. You have to love it, because the business part of it.
Wow. Did you, when you saw how Def Jam worked, being a massive label as it was, did you then think, wow, this is still better than the situation we had before? Or did you think, oh man, if we were back at Bad Boy, we probably would have gotten those singles out and stuff?
Financially, it was a better situation. You know what I mean? It was definitely a better.
Never would have made that money. No, we'd have never made that money.
At Bad Boy, we would have never made that kind of money. You know what I'm saying? That we made at Def Jam.
We ran into Nathan and Sean from Boyz II Men, and of course, like we looked up to Jodeci. Like Jodeci is like crazy all the time in our book, and then like Boyz II Men is right there too. It's like almost like Mount Rushmore, but just so it's like to see some guys from our favorite group, we just like, wow, we in awe. But at the same time, we don't want to come across looking like some male groupies or whatever. So we ain't gonna ask nothing personal. We just asking like, look, we introduce ourselves. We from a new group, whatever. Like, is there any advice that y'all could give us? What's the best advice that y'all could give us? We try to come up with an intelligent question. Yeah. And when we asked them that, they was like, first thing came out their mouth was publishing. and all that stuff. And we was like, don't ever sign away your publisher. Don't ever do this. And me and him just looked at each other like, damn it, we just did that. Yes. All the stuff he's saying don't do is what we just did like a couple weeks ago.
So what is the, because it's what is the benefit of signing a publishing deal, unless in some cases where you're almost forced to sign it because you're signing a record deal? But if you had the opportunity, why do people go and sign publishing deals?
Because they want that right now money, as opposed to here's how it goes. Okay, when Wike started blowing up on the charts and was like, oh my God, it's a gold single. Oh my God, it's about to go platinum, and then it went platinum. That's when they start swarming like vultures. All the publishers start swarming. We got one, and they swoop in and they entice you with a number because you ain't seen that money yet. You haven't seen the paper yet. You haven't seen it yet. They come in before you see the paper. That's the key. You haven't seen a dime of it yet. You got some production money. Yeah, you got paid whatever your fee was to produce it. That's 40, 50, 20, 30, whatever grand. But you ain't seen 400,000 at one time, and they know that, especially with young Black people who have lived lives of poverty usually.
Yeah.
So you come in swooping in with a check talking about 400,000. That sounds pretty cool, and you want to buy that house, and you want to buy that car. So that's how they get you. But the truth of the matter is, if you don't do that, not only do you get the 400,000 they're dangling in front of you like a carrot, but you get everything else that's coming. But if you sign it, they give you that 400,000, and then you make $1 million. Then they get to hold that and give you the 400,000, and now they got the $1 million based on everything else you're doing. So that you just gave your money away, and now you got to fight to get it back.
Oh, so there's a times when that can end and say, okay, we've done our time.
Yeah, and that's the key, the time. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, it's usually like 30 years.
Wow.
Okay, so you're signing away decades worth of earnings for one little piece of change. It makes no sense whatsoever. If you never do it, then you don't have that problem. And if your record's still successful, you're gonna get paid all the money instead of giving somebody else half the money.
Yeah.
In order to get, it's just like getting a loan in advance of your own shit. Is all it is.
Yeah, but when you get a loan, you pay it back, and that's it. They don't keep then saying, well, you've made it.
And now you know what a publishing deal is. There you go. Bingo. You see the incentive for them to do that, and then they try to own it for as long as you're alive.
Wow. Thanks for watching. Please remember to subscribe to the channel, but most importantly, to press the notification bell so that you can be notified when we do have a new interview. Loads to come, but thanks a lot for watching.